anxietycenter.com.
Okay, I think it's a great idea.
Well, I love the reassurance page that you have, so I think it's, I would love to do that. Let's see, some of the positive things I've done. I no longer have the shortness of breath. That symptom went away. I get it here and there when I get really anxious, but otherwise that's gone. I had 52 symptoms when I started, and I'm down to like 6. So
Wow.
I'm really proud of myself on that.
Totally.
Last time we talked, I couldn't feel anything at all. And now I'm getting moments where I can feel, just like I told you. There's just moments, though. And my compassion for animals and people has come back. That was big for me since I work as a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love animals again, so that was huge.
Great. Wow.
And I've actually had a little bit of fun moments here and there. I went to the Renaissance Fair with my kids, so I have made quite a bit of progress. So that's my progress to
Good
share.
for you. Those are good, and you raise a really important point. We get so caught up in how bad we feel, we forget there's still good things that go on in our lives. And you're right, part of becoming healthy and overcoming anxiety is looking at the good things and enjoying them. And you're right, we have to wait for the body to get into a place where we can have those good emotions come back. But as we work at our recovery, it does. And, the comment you just made, I remember so vividly in my own life. I was so caught up in anxiety disorder, the struggle and containing and ignoring and moving on and everything. That became my daily job. But as I got better, it started like, hey, I used to feel that's a good emotion there now, or that thing feel really good, or that, commercial really warmed my heart, which I never had during those years. So it's nice to see some of those things come back, and they will come back in time. So that's great to point out.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I owe it all to you and Stacy and Anxiety Center.
And your hard work.
And my hard work, yes.
You
and
bet.
the Lord, because I can't tell how many times I've prayed to the Lord. But I also remember to thank him for the good things he's doing instead of just always begging for help. Like I try to remember to also be praying in general, So
and like Vanessa,
I'm getting back in touch with the Lord, and that's making me feel a lot better because I did lose insight on my faith and stuff. So.
And that's how we become fearless. And I'm saying this from a Christian standpoint, but after all the various belief systems that I've interacted with over the years, the only one that can make us fearless is being Christian, because we know that God is in control of everything. For example, for me, I used to be a horrendous, anxious person about everything. And as a Christian, I realized, God's in control of everything. Whatever he sends into my life or allows into my life is his will. And if I want his will done, so be it. There's no reason to be afraid. He's in charge of it all. So we can become fearless knowing that God is in control of our lives when we give our lives to him, and that all the consequences that occur are through him. Charles Stanley has a good saying. I'll have to think about it. Just went off the top of my head as I was going to mention it. But that's how we can become fearless, is knowing that there is an ultimate purpose. Our destiny is going to be in heaven with God, where there's no more pain, suffering, fear, anxiety. So that's where we want to work toward. And knowing that that's where we're going can bring great peace no matter what goes on in our lives. That's how we become fearless, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when you feel alone, Marguerite, I get those lonely moments too, where you feel.
Sometimes, you just feel like you're the only
but just
one.
Remember, my mom always told me this: you are never, ever, ever alone.
Yeah.
Never alone. Never alone.
Yeah.
Lonely, but not alone.
Oh, never.
Yeah. And the same with people who have low self-esteem or they don't feel loved. As a Christian, for sure God loves you beyond anything we can even imagine. He's being patient. He's allowing.
I'm working on that, Jim. I'm working on that. I can't say that I'm already there, but I'm working on that.
And it brings good, sense of peace in our hearts when we know that God understands our struggle way better than we do. He's not up there shaking his finger at us and saying, "Oh, you're such a loser, or you're such a failure." He knows why we hurt, all the various things way better than we do, and he loves us and he wants us to work through these things because he knows and loves us that deeply. Sometimes you think, well, why doesn't God just step in and fix this for me? Because we know that wouldn't be
all messed up in one more year,
Well, that's the thing, because we know how much damage overprotection does. in children. In fact, overprotection, overindulging, overcritical backgrounds set people up to struggle with the hardest bouts of anxiety. And God knows way better than us how those affect us. So he's not going to step in because he wants us to be happy. He wants us to be strong. What's the patience, endurance, long suffering, right? Those are the character qualities he wants to build in us. Well, this is how we do it. As much as we don't like it, but it benefits us. And, for you young moms out there, look at the value and benefit it's going to bring to your family when you have these skills that you can pass on to your children, like Marika's doing right now, Marguerite's doing right now. Is those things and the relationships you can develop, the people you can influence down the road when you're through this, the knowledge you'll have, the comfort you'll be able to bring to them, that is immense. Those are the blessings that we'll work towards. So it can be tough, but there's a big plan involved.
I do see how far I've come, Jim. I think about that quite a bit,
Mm.
I mean, I was in so much pain, I couldn't even hardly sit through a therapy session. There was one time I was so messed up. Stacy said, "I'm not going to do counseling with you today, and I'm not going to charge you for this. You are a basket case."
Yeah.
I mean, I would sleep maybe 2 hours a night and hallucinate the rest of the time. All night long, horrible symptoms, dizziness, grabbing the wall, walking down every day. I couldn't even sit on the toilet without being dizzy. I'd have to hold the wall and use the potty. I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't have any of that anymore.
Yeah.
Amen.
How'd you get rid of that?
That dizziness? Oh, that
that's my-
infernal dizziness will make you crazy. That will make you crazy.
Yeah, that and derealization. I mean, I know they're all just symptoms of anxiety, and if you work with the anxiety, but
Just a lot of the setting boundaries, recognizing that these little stresses in our lives, we don't, like my little weenie dog got diagnosed with, we love our pets. I love my pets. He got diagnosed with the disc disease, the degenerative disc disease. Well, of course, I had a spike in symptoms for 2 days because I was grieving. I didn't know what this meant for Max. I didn't want to lose Max. And,
Yeah.
so I think just changing the channel, changing the channel,
What about your stress reduction? Yes.
Rest, setting limits. I can't hear all the negative. I go to great lengths.
You dropped out there, Marguerite.
that's almost impossible.
I'm sorry.
That seems to be almost impossible, really, because some stresses bring about a bunch of emotion, like with my mom and stuff, and things are
but you'll heal, Janice. I mean, that's what's happening. I mean, I'm slowly healing, slowly. Being on this Skype call is healing for me. Hearing Brianna, and Jim talk about God's love, and it's slowly. I mean, it just happens so stinking slow.
That's the problem. It's so slow. Yeah.
20 months I've been at this hard. Of course, I've had a lot of different stresses, over the 20 months.
Yeah.
And Jim, Stacy flat out told me, he said, the level of trauma that you're coming from, Marguerite, you score in the top 5% of people that I've counseled. This is not going to be quick.
Yeah. I'm glad he
he told me that, because I would rather him be honest with me and me sitting here thinking, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, I know. Geez. It's it breaks my heart when I hear that people have to go through, like, your background, Marguerite. It's
no child should ever have to live with what I lived through.
Yeah, and there's a lot of children who come from really horrendous places, and that's just the example of sin in the world. But it's great to see you're making progress. It's a lot of work.
I mean, I can't believe you've done all that you've done with the. I mean, I had a childhood of neglect and abandonment. And my father had mental and had a VA mental hospital and stuff, but I don't know how you overcame it. I mean, that's really an accomplishment that you should really be proud of. I
still have symptoms, Janice. I mean, I still don't sleep great. I went to the dentist the other day, and because I have a birth defect, so I'm at the dentist all the time. You'd think I'd just be used to it by now, but I mean, I I think the boundaries and learning, educate myself on, I think that is one thing that maybe the nursing has helped me with is, I was a hard sell to what Jim was preaching. I was like, this is not true. But once I just kept getting myself educated and getting myself into the science, it's like, okay, there is, there's truth to this, and just really submerging myself in it.
Yeah. But when your childhood is so attached to everything, literally.
That's why you have to work with Stacy, and you have to be really diligent with him with the timeline, even though it freaking sucks. There was a lot of times I've told him, I'm like, Stacy, I can't do the timeline today. Like, my symptoms are through the roof. Like, I can't.
Yeah, I when you said that, he did
having flashbacks. I'm having nightmares. I'm having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
But I feel like recovering from anxiety disorder is like walking through the Amazon jungle with a butter knife, or being on a roller coaster and watching paint dry. What word do you have for that?
Yeah.
What are some things that went away for you though? I mean, like so far.
My pain has. I'm in less pain than I've been in years. My pain has. I mean, I could barely move, Jim. I could barely move. My pain is so much better. Every once in a while I'll get a little flare. My IBS, I would have diarrhea to the clear on the regular. The dizziness has let up tremendously. The crazy thoughts have, gone away a lot. Rashes. Oh my gosh, I would have these crazy rashes. I mean, I don't go to the doctor anymore with all my dang symptoms. Trying to think what else. I still stink. Anxiety makes you stink.
Oh, stress sweat. Yeah, that's totally
the stress, the sour stress sweat. I still get that. I still get the shaky. I still get the shakes in the morning, but they're not as bad, when you wake up. I don't know. I still have a ways to go.
You came a long way though from what
I mean, you go from panic attacks, having, I don't even know how many panic attacks I have in a day, to maybe a couple panic attacks a day, and they aren't really that bad, They're just kind of more inconvenient than really bad.
So like the longer you've had this, like
I've been
like I've been like this since I was 9, because that's
it'll be 5 years that I've struggled with. 5 years will be that I've struggled with serious anxiety. But I've probably been anxious my whole life.
Well,
for sure.
If you've had all these issues since you were young, like Jim, I had horrible anxiety when that happened with my parents, and it's just been just a rough road since then. And of course, it's morphed into this horrible thing the last 5 or 6 years. But is it going to take longer because of these behaviors being there since 9 and progressing into different symptoms, and then not being there for a few years and then coming back? And I mean, so the longer your body and brain have got these neural pathways and these habits and stuff, is it going to take longer to recover?
The more underlying factors we have and the longer we struggle, typically the longer the recovery, because there's more to work through. No, it doesn't mean we can't.
I may be dead before I recover then.
No. The good news is that recovery also snowballs forward. As we start putting pieces in place, the recovery picks up speed. So it really depends. Again, with Marguerite having such a traumatic background, there's going to be work involved, absolutely, and there's going to be probably more work than someone who came from a lesser traumatic background. That's just kind of how it works. But again, the information builds on itself. The more we know, the more we get, the better off we are. Now, I wish the same.
Compassion to yourself, Janice. I would say recovery begins with learning to have compassion for myself.
And that is what I'm working on.
The reason there are very good reasons why I'm in anxiety disorder. I've even told there are very, very good reasons why.
Yeah.
I mean,
how do you have compassion for yourself when?
Well, I just change that, self-talk, tell yourself what you would tell me if I was telling you what You say
Yeah,
it
I can do that. I can care about and love animals and people, and you know, work special ed kids for 21 years, and I love the nursing them and things like that. And I'm but when it comes to
and
emotional,
also
I like
the information with
to be loved.
The information with Jim, you know, where he talks about you know, part of like telling yourself like these symptoms are not my fault. You know, they're a biological response.
Yeah.
But loving
I
yourself.
I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong to develop panic disorder.
And that's
God is punishing me.
Yeah, this is one of the things, you know, we're going to be, you know, publishing on our Facebook page shortly, is that it's not our responsibility or fault that we developed issues with anxiety. That's a fact. It's not. We're products of our background and thinking and so on and so forth. But it is our responsibility to overcome it, because no one can do that for us. It's the work we have to do. And some people will take offense to that because they think, well, you know, especially people who have learned to be helpless, they would just view themselves as being victims. There's nothing I can do. It's everybody else's fault. Never mind. But that doesn't get us out of anxiety. It just keeps us stuck. So when we start to go after our behaviors, do the work required, understand it, that's how we get better. So it is work. And you'd mentioned the question, how does one develop love? Well, working through the background factors will get you to that position where you'll see things differently, where you can extend that grace and love like you probably want to. But because of the backgrounds we have those belief systems that are challenging that.
Like, I don't have problems with giving out like love. Actually, I'm more emotional with animals than I am people, but it depends on what kind of people they are. If they're people in nursing homes and things like that. But it's I know people love me, but I don't feel loved.
Yeah.
I don't feel loved by God. I don't feel love, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, I had neglect as a child, and I didn't have parents around, and basically had to take care of myself. And so that's probably why I have these factors with safety and just feeling like I have to be in control of things to feel better. Because when you're a child, since you're doing things for yourself, then you're in control. You know, you're once in control, so you grow up like that. But I mean, it's like that love factor. It's very weird. I don't even like to be touched. It's
well, think about love. Love occurs when we think certain things to ourselves. Again, love is cognitive. In fact, you know, a lot of our emotions, what we talk about, you know, our emotions stem from how we think. Well, love is a thinking thing. If we feel or think we're being valued and cherished and appreciated and made to feel special, we're going to feel loved. But what does a child do when you don't get that? When you get the opposite, where you're feeling rejected, you're a burden, or you weren't wanted? Well, the messages... I'm sorry?
Or nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you say to yourself as a child? Well, it's either what's wrong with me, or I'm damaged, I'm not worthy, I'm unlovable. Those are the messages you say. So you see how difficult it's going to be to feel loved and appreciated and accepted. Even when people do things externally so that we should feel loved and appreciated, we think, well, they're just trying to get something from me. We discount it and blow it off. Because that belief system that started way back then is filtering and driving how we believe about ourselves today. So that's why going back to those things, understanding those situations, coming at it from a different perspective, coming away with a different belief system, will allow us to say those nice things to ourselves. Well, that person did something to me because they cared for me, not because they want something. Or that person, did this really nice gesture because they just did it for me. Well, that really makes me feel good, instead of, well, what do they want? And he's just trying to get something from me or trying to manipulate me. It comes down to the messages we say, and that's where the value of level 2 recovery work really comes into play, because we change the messages.
Because, see, I agree, Jim. I don't think there's going to be an aha moment.
Nope.
In that, learning to be loved. Like, I had a YouTube, the last Skype call we did, which has revolutionized my life, Jim, was put on YouTube. There was a guy that made a comment that was kind of, derogatory or in nature, or not nasty, but just kind of negative.
Yeah.
And Jim's like, I don't agree with you at all. Well, that's a little bit of love towards me. I think it's just little by little by little. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's,
I don't think there's some I mean, we all want the St. Paul conversion, but
Yeah.
I think most of us get the St. Peter conversion.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And the thing is, we're talking about younger generations. When you think about the feeling of love and being valued, well, the messaging today and almost everywhere you go is individualism, and you're wrong and you're stupid and you're negative. Well, that's really hard to develop when you're a young kid, kind of grow through that. So you can just imagine the damage that's coming in our younger generation that's going to start exhibiting itself when they get to the teens and early 20s.
Well, yeah, that's why girls wear no clothes now. They wear no clothes.
Yeah. And when you really think about it, the highest thing we strive for in our lives is to be loved and accepted. That's the number one motivating desire of everybody. Now, we can get to a place in an adult life where we kind of, sear that and look for other things, power, position, money, or whatever. But it still comes down to being loved and accepted. And this is where Christianity is really wonderful, because God has already showed He's loved us that much. He's already given the ultimate price just for us. Even though we're sinners and do dumb things and sinful things at times, He still came, knowing all that. He still came because He loves us that much. And that's the kind of love that it would be nice to see society pick up on, is instead of being individual, care for other people, show them generous and mercy and compassion. Certainly don't tolerate abuse, and you can set healthy boundaries to do that in a non-aggressive way, but show compassion more. And as we start to show that more, we can start to feel that more, because love is reciprocal, isn't it?
No, I show a
Jen,
lot.
can you
I
hear
lot of
me?
compassion, but
I can.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Speaking of love, I think a lot of times too, and I'm a very loving person. Like, I love everyone. Like, I feel like everyone's equal. But I notice that when I do like walk down the street, I'll smile or I'll say hi, and I'm just so nice to people. And then when I feel like they don't say hi back, or it makes me feel sad. Like, it makes me feel like, why do I even say hi? Like, why do I even say hi to these people? Like, they're just so rude to me. How can I change my belief system in that aspect? Like, because for me, I avoid things to not feel pain. And so for me, I'm a very loving person. Like, I love everyone and I love to smile. And I feel like some people think, oh, she's being fake, but that's truly who I am. And when I smile at people, or I'll say hi and they don't say hi back, or people can come off like just rude sometimes I won't even be rude and people are rude. How do I change my way, like, and see it like, okay, well, maybe they're just having a bad day, but it still hurts me. It still hurts.
Yeah.
How would you go about something like that?
You raise a great point. A lot of anxious people are compassionate and loving because we've come from difficult backgrounds. We want the world to be better, so we try to love people in that way. That's just an extension of who we are. So one way to look at this, for me, that's helpful to me, is looking at the way Jesus looked at it. I mean, He came down here even though He was killed. He knew He was going to be killed before He came down. There's no mystery there. He knew the price He was going to have to pay. He came down and offered people love because of who He is. Not because of who we are, not because of what our behaviors were, but because that's who He is. And so you can love others and radiate it the way you want to, because you love others, regardless of the response you get, because people are going to respond to you based on their emotional health. Do you understand that? Yeah. Jesus loved us because of His emotional health. He loved us unconditionally because of that. And we can work and move in that direction by loving others because of our emotional health, regardless of the response from others. And boundaries is really helpful here. Because when we realize that I'm not responsible for that person's response to me, he is or she is or whatever, I can respond to them whichever way I want to. And if I want to show love and smile, which I do too, I agree with you, I do the same thing. And there's a lot of times people will sometimes frown and think, what the heck's wrong with that guy? But I don't care. I'm sort of extending myself the way I want to, the way Jesus would. And people can take it and respond to it whichever way they choose. And that's their issue, not mine. So boundaries can help separate your behavior from someone else's. So when you smile, there's going to be certain people who are going to think, well, that's really wonderful. You just ruined my day. And there's going to be others who think, well, that person's an idiot. You're just going to get that. And that's where we go back to the third rule, right? A third of people are going to like us. The third people really don't care less. Other people aren't going to like us at all. That's just the third rule of people. And that's because of the variations of the person's emotional and psychological health, not about what you do. So if you
I see.
offer the gift of love freely and don't expect anything to come back, I think it'd be way more happier by doing that and lightening other people's lives by doing that than hoping that something's going to come back your way, because they're going to respond to you based on their emotional health.
That makes sense. And then going back to like how we all grew up as like in abusive families and all that, like I'm raising my daughter the opposite. Like I'm showing her so much love. My oldest daughter, I'm showing her lots of love and compassion, and but she's been feeling the derealization, or just like she's always telling me since she was the age of 4. She's 7 now, but she's like, Mom, I feel like this is not real. Like my heart, like I'm so scared. Why do I feel like I'm not? Why am I feeling like I'm in a dream? And I've been telling this to Sherry, and Sherry's like, you know what? You just have to teach her, like, it's okay. You know, it's just your mind. It's just, I'm just wondering, because a lot of us, we get that because of behaviors or how we were raised. But my child, I'm thinking it could have been because she's seen how I went through anxiety. So I'm just pretty much feeling like it's a habit that she got from me, seeing her mom. And I totally feel bad that she had to see me go through that. But do you think she picked up this habit from me and now she's just using it because she's seen Mom react to anxiety a certain way? I just don't understand how my child is going through it. And I don't even know if it's derealization, but the way she's saying it, it sounds like how I would say, like, I don't feel like this is real. Like, why do I feel like this? And she's just saying the same thing. And I'm like, why is she saying this?
Yeah. Well, children are sponges, especially in the early years. They pick up so much information from seeing others, because you can learn in a whole variety of ways, and observation is one. And again, you think of how our belief system is comprised. Our belief system is built on the opinions we say to ourselves about things. And so even just being exposed to someone struggling with anxiety, they can pick it up. My youngest daughter is extremely anxious because she was really young when I was going through my anxiety disorder in a big way. The older ones were a little bit older, so they had a different view, but my youngest one is extremely anxious. And so you can, could be the behaviors that she saw, could be how other people responded to me. There's a lot of things that can go into that. And I would agree with Stacy by saying or Sherry by saying you want to normalize it, give her some peace about it, share with her the things you've learned, age appropriate, of course, because they're still, if they're young, they don't grasp on concepts, but ease them into it, make it feel that it's normal. It's okay. It's all right. It's not something that's bad. And that will help. I mean, most parents don't want to harm us. Most parents don't want us to develop anxiety disorder. They do it because of the unhealthiness they went through growing up. So it's kind of, we pass it down from behavior to behavior. So because you're in recovery and you're learning things, you can actually stop that transfer by educating no matter what age. How old is your daughter? I'm sorry, you just cut out there for a minute.
Oh, she's 7.
7. Oh, yeah. 7 is kind of an age where this starts to show up, especially in females. So with the information you're getting, you can really help her grow through this. And you might want to ask Sherry for age-appropriate ways to help her do that. That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I've been working with her, and I've been very calm, and I'm like, it's okay. What you're feeling is just, it's normal. Mommy went through it. Daddy has experienced it. And, and I'm normalizing it for her so she doesn't become afraid of it.
Yep. Perfect. Yep. You bet. Yeah. And as she gets older, you can explain why it happens as she gets older. But what you're doing right now, loving her and letting her come to you and express that is so important.
Yep. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Yeah.